Hey guys, this is Griffin Benger with IvyLeague.com, and I'm joined by Josh Brikis, and we're here in beautiful Cabo, as you can see. Very excited to review this hand history, very close to my heart. I just won the Sunday 500 on this past Sunday, and this is we're going to go over the hands, and Josh hasn't seen it yet, so he's just going to, complain about some of my bad plays, and we're going to see how it goes.
I'm looking forward to see how this legend does it. I mean, Sunday 500 is a big one, so let's do it.
All right, so this is technically the first hand of the final table. As you can see, there's only 8 people on the table because the other table was just breaking. I have 9-10 suited. Obviously, a really beautiful hand on around 55 big blinds. A lot of this, is actually I was talking to Josh kind of briefly before we started about this particular hand, and you were saying how usually you would flatten this sort of situation. I tend to agree, but I found that with the dynamic with this particular opponent, and because the other table was kind of breaking, that this was one of those situations where I didn't think he was going to get really out of line a lot. I kind of felt like he would play pretty honestly with me here, because it's like they just got to the final table. He's aware that I'm aware how late he's probably opening in this spot, and I find that he doesn't really want to get into it with me right away. So I find that I'm going to get a lot of folds here, and then if he's sort of marginally strong, I'm going to get some flats and play obviously a hand that plays really well in position.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if you get him the flat, I think it's even better. You're going to win a bigger pot, but I mean, I understand where you're thinking there. Like, I like flatting just because, you have potential to flop huge and win a big pot, but like you said, he's probably not going to get out of line anyway. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this hand is played here. I tend to play pretty tight at the beginning of final tables for a number of different reasons, but there's no real reason to kind of get a line. I have a really good seat on my table. Actually, the guy on my direct left is actually my roommate back in Toronto, which is pretty ironic. So I know that he's going to play pretty honestly against me, and he's pretty short stacked. So I think that definitely plays to my advantage. Grodzki's was actually really, just to talk about the players at the table really. I mean, Grodzki is really interesting because the numbers I had on him, it didn't seem like he was someone that really got out of line a lot. But then the hand before that 9-10 suited hand, he 5-bet folded to Peter Hu, the guy on his direct left, on like Peter Hu's like 25 big blind effective stack. It was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. It was completely erratic and random. Like Peter Hu opened to 40K, and then Grodzki made it 88, and then Peter made it like 125 or something. He made it like 180. Like, it was just insane. It was just 5 clicks out of nowhere. So that was I almost like I liked seeing that, just in the context of I thought that he would kind of also play pretty honestly at the table, almost like he's embarrassed because he just basically put in like half of his effective stack and folded. But it also kind of telegraphed to me that this is someone that's not going to really give up on a lot of pots pre-flop. I mean, if he thinks there's room to put in another bet, then he's going to do that. So it's going to play to my strength if I actually get a strong hand. But I mean, again, I'm not necessarily sure if he's actually going to start tightening up, or if this is just like something that he does.
Yeah. It's just one hand, so you probably got to wait and see what he's going to do here.
Yeah. And that's another thing, sample size-wise, obviously. It's like, a really small sample. So yeah, it's ironic that I just said, after saying how tight I like to play at final tables. I think ordinarily, at the start of a final table, I would fold this. But like I said, regarding Poker Brad's stack, I mean, he's really the only shove stack, and he's under the gun 1, so I think he's got to play obviously very, very honestly with me. He's going to be shoving really, really tight, and there's so many stacks that that they have stacks that they can flat with, and if I flop a set, I mean, obviously that's a pretty perfect situation. So pretty much the one thing that I was worried about was the sort of shorter stack, like Jose actually ended up 3-betting, and obviously I just ended up folding here because it's.
Do you find it interesting that with 22 bigs there that he's just kind of clicking it back? Or is
I mean, I think he's just super nutted here. Like, yeah. I don't think there's any chance that I mean, it's hard to say because I think he turned out actually to be not the strongest player, but I think that he probably just has like Jacks plus here, to be honest, Ace King, Jacks plus. Yeah. Maybe he would have shoved in Ace King just because it's like the start of the final table and he only does have 25 blinds. But yeah, he's definitely nutted here in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Sure looks that way.
Easy fold.
Which is also a good reason for him to 3-bet light.
Yeah, let's see if this one gets played. Yeah, this was just the button open, really weak player, Mazias 3-bet, and I just folded King Jack. Definitely a spot that I could have considered cold 4-betting, but again, I don't think it's really necessary to kind of get out of line right now and get into some sort of leveling war this early on the final table, especially when I have such a good seat. This one, yeah, I mean he has to. He should be raising pretty wide here, but I mean he also might have a hand. He's usually going to have a hand that can call off poker brats, so again it's just a fold in my here, and actually I think that poker brat ends up busting on this hand with 2 4s, and I think he has ace-6, so that's the first elimination of the table. Pretty standard. Just a fold. Imagine that's just a fold too. So yeah, I'm able to play pretty tight on the FT because I'm getting, for the last couple of hands, but. Here's 2 7s. Let's see how this goes. Oh, I'm just gonna walk. Very riveting stuff so far. Obviously not involved in that one. Yeah, it's going to play, I mean, I'm not going to be playing a great deal of hands this early at the final table. Everyone's pretty deep stacked. Sunday 500, I mean, it's one of my favorite tournaments of the week on PokerStars for sure. I mean, I find that I almost cash in it practically every week. I think I got 30th a few weeks ago. It's definitely a tournament that plays to my strengths. Another sort of tight fold under the gun, which I
was just going to ask you, do you ever open that?
Yeah. I think it's fine, but yeah. I mean, again, we're still only 8-handed, and I also opened the last under the gun, so I think that they're aware that I'm not necessarily opening like super nutted in an early position.
Does your thoughts change on that based on Peter Hu and Goro's stack size at that ace-3?
Yeah, I mean, Peter Hu obviously has to play pretty honest. He has to shove on me. Grodzki, I don't think he's necessarily going to attack my early position open. This is definitely a spot that I probably should have considered maybe opening, but I just decided to fold. Very close spot. It's probably just a fold. This actually ended up being a really awesome heads-up battle, which I'm really excited to watch. So once we get through all the clutter here. Yeah, I just haven't played a hand. Everyone's going to think I'm so nitty. This is a hand I end up playing. I think it's, in this position, I think it's, I mean, you talked about flatting that 9-10. I think it's too marginal to flat here.
No, I don't like flatting.
No, not at all. So, but just going back to that 9-10 situation when you're saying you like to flat that, this is obviously a very different hand in a different situation. As far as the metagame, sort of the game flow with Mazias, I mean, I'd stayed out of his way since that first 3-bet, and it's just sort of like a metagame thing where it's just like, if he doesn't 4-bet you the first time, it's like this is going to turn out to be like a pretty good spot to 3-bet him again. So I'd also just been so tight at the final table as we've seen so far, just not really getting any hands or any spots to open. So I felt like it was a decent spot to sort of continue the dynamic the two of us have, and then that happened. So this one did not get through.
Yeah,
but I think it's fine.
Now, just because that happened, does that hold you back on 3-betting light?
Yeah, I mean, I think it obviously exposes me a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, this early at the final table, I'm going to be playing pretty tight anyway. So it's fine. It almost works to my advantage because they see that I'm willing to get out of line, and the reality is, I think that I'm not going to get out of line as they think this early on in the final table. So.